Hey there, welcome to saas.unbound podcast. I'm your host, Anna Dana, head of growth at Saas Group, a serial acquirer buying wonderful SaaS businesses to take them to the next level. And here I chat with inspiring founders and experts to get an inside scoop on how they made their business success. Today with me is Antoine, CEO of DashThis, a cloud-based marketing reporting dashboard solution which allows users to create custom dashboards. And of course, a brand that we absolutely love at Saas Group since we acquired it in summer 2023. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Sure, anytime. I mean, it's great to interview founders that you actually know and you've seen live. So it's a bit of a different kind of podcast then, but especially our own founders that we kept with us at Sauce Group, and it's great. So I would love to get a little bit deeper into this story, but first, a little bit about you. I mean, who's Antoine? How did you end up with DashThis in the first place?
Oh wow, okay. First, my name is Antoine, as you said. I live in Quebec City, near Montreal, in Canada. I have three children, and yeah, I love outdooring stuff like that. And of course, I love all around marketing and digital marketing and marketing reporting. And I ended up at DashThis in 2015 as a marketing freelance, and things were going great. I really love the team. I love the team potential. So we decided to get to like I bought some stocks, and then I went from operations to CEO, and then we decided to sell. So it's kind of a long story, but yeah, we're glad to be in SAS Group's team. Yeah.
Okay, that was very like you just put it in a nutshell. Like seriously, made it super short.
Yeah.
But it's the first time in my life I think like I heard anybody say, I love anything about marketing reporting. It's like, okay, that's very interesting. So
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
me more.
especially since our mission is to kind of eliminate the pain of marketing reporting, because we know it's a lot of pain for a lot of people. So, but I love killing the pain from it.
Okay, that's okay. That's a better start. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I gave like a super short intro to what Dash this is, but what is
yeah,
it? Like, what is it intended to be and to do?
yeah. Okay. So at first, Stefan is the founder. Stefan, my former partner, business partner, who was the founder of DashThis in 2013 or 11, I think. Yeah, in 11. And the guy was making the reporting at an agency, and he hated it. So he kind of said, like, there has to be a better way to create automated reports, or to do even automated report, because he was manually doing it in Excel like everyone at the time. And some integrations like Google Analytics or Facebook were working on external APIs for people to plug in the data or to pull the data from it. So he said, okay, let's sell the agency and then try to build something new. And he went in his basement with his money from the agency, and for 2 years he coded it and hoped for the best. And that's a funny story, because when he left the agency, I entered the agency to replace him to make the reports. So the boss from the agency came to me and said, do you think it will work? Like, our former partner is working on something. He's building a software to create reports. And I was like, I don't get the idea. I don't think it will work. So but at the time I thought that this wouldn't work. But later on, as I said, I joined as a freelance in marketing, and then decided to join as shareholder. But in short, yeah, that's what we do. We help people automate their marketing report to make sure that they don't manually copy paste the data from all the different sources they have. We plug in around 30 different integrations, and once you set your report templates, it's a go for every month. It's been sent to your clients without doing anything. So yeah, the less you do, the more happy we are.
Awesome. I'm telling you, like, it's every fifth episode somebody says, we hated doing it in Excel so much that we built our own product. So,
Yeah,
I mean, thank you, Excel. We got so many wonderful companies out of this. But yeah, you said you didn't believe in marketing reporting tools, but first of all, what year was it? And I mean, there must have been already quite a few solutions out there. So how
Not
come?
really. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good observation. But at the time in 2010 or 2011, I think Stefan was one of the first, or even the first. Like there was Supermetrics at the time, who is now a major player in the market, who was plugging to Excel the data, but not on a web-based solution or in a SaaS solution. So Stefan, I think, would be the first or one of the first for sure to have built it like a SaaS model at the time for pulling data and creating something automated in marketing reporting. So yeah,
Oh, that's pretty
but
cool.
he was the first. But of course, it was crappy at start. It was really a bad solution. And a funny story he always share is he got like his first client doing outreach on the yellow pages via email. Like the first two clients were one that way, and the third one said, "Okay, I'm interested, but I'll need two reference to get in." And he said, "That's great. I have two clients, so here are your two references." So yeah,
That's
it started like that.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really funny. But what made you believe in the product after all? Like what made you quit the agency and say, "Hey, I think he kind of knows what he's doing."
Yeah. Um, in fact, like 2 or 3 years later, he was already at like $1 million in recurring revenue. So we were okay. It's something serious, and people like at the time I knew like I was working on in e-commerce and digital marketing and stuff like that, but not necessarily SaaS for me was something new. Like I wasn't an expert in that type of business. And then there's Stefan who is building something in his basement, which he calls his bunker. And then there has like tons of people in other countries sending him money in US over like post on checks or subscribing on the new internal system is building to get invoice done. So I was like, oh, it's crazy. People doesn't know the guy and they still want to pay. They want to give him money because I was used to traditional model with agencies. Like you kind of meet the person, you work the relation for a year, and then he gives you a contract, and then you keep him for a while. So that was really impressive for me. And I said, okay, so if we can scale this with my skills, if I can work like SEO, SEM, analytics, and stuff like that, the product, because I was a project manager and product manager as well. So I was like, okay, there's a fit. I can help the guy and make sure the business gets structured, and then we can scale. So that's why I joined. So I saw the potential, and I'm happy to say that I wasn't mistaken.
Yeah, definitely didn't suck. But like, okay, so what led you to then, realizing that this is something that do you want to do? Like you said, you bought some stock, so you became a co-founder and a CEO, and yeah, and basically then, well, now you're running the company.
Yeah,
So how did the transition go? What made you believe that this is going to be something you're going to dedicate your life to?
yeah, yeah. At least 10 years of it. So yeah, I guess it's a long story. I could go a different portion of the story. Stefan was the founder. He hired a CEO. The CEO hired me as a freelance and then hired me as an operation. And then we all, the three of us, decided to join as shareholders. So that's in a nutshell the story. But um, when we arrived, the CEO and me, the business was at $1 million in revenue, and we were eight, and it was total chaos. Like the team was working full time on a totally new system in parallel. So it was aside from the thing that was online and that people was loving. So they were, okay, let's invest a year or two in something that we don't know if people will love. Let's deploy it and see what happens. And I was like, oh, okay, no, let's not do that. Let's work on the platform we already have. Let's improve it. And then so I work really hard on like planning the team and making sure we have a product backlog, which there wasn't. So so that was hell a bit. But we quickly realized that the team they built wasn't necessarily the team we wanted in the long term. So from 8, we went to 2. And then in 2 years, we grew to 38. So in 2 years, we went from 2 to 38. I've seen some business having a faster growth for sure, but for us, it was like a bit chaotic, honestly. Like this portion of the growth of the business was, I think, the hardest for me. Like, and during that time, having new kids and stuff like that, so we were working really hard. Um, but the business was going great. We made like the 500 fastest growing company in Canada, and we made it like 4 times as a streak. So we were really proud about that. The business was growing great. So yeah, that's until 2016, 17, when between the shareholders, it was beginning to be a bit weird. So the business was struggling to make decisions. It was struggling to have a clear vision. In a short story, we decided to buy back the CEO. So it resolved the issue between shareholders, and then you had kind of the the COVID timing, which there was like 3 months of insane canceling for 3 months, and we deleted the cancel button, and we said we got to talk to people. So we kind of saved the boat in these 3 months. And then you had the growth, insane growth we had from 2020 to 2022. We were growing like crazy because it was a new normal. Like people were all online, and the e-commerce was going really great. And in 2023, the growth started to slow down, and we were like asking ourselves, where is this going? And we just hired like a lot of people. So Stefan was also thinking about his future, and he was like, okay, so I have the majority of the shares, and I'm not necessarily involved in the company as much because Antoine, I was doing the operations, I was doing the daily operation of the business. So he's like, okay, I'll try to work on AI like a lot of people do right now. So he tried to build with an external firm different algorithms that would help the product, like to go from automating your reports and killing the pain to giving recommendations or giving insights to what to do with the data. Because a lot of our clients are asking like, I have the marketing reporting to do, but I don't know what to do with it. So what should I look at? What are the KPIs should I put in my report? So AI would have been a great thing, but those sorts of projects were a bit ahead of our reality. I mean, we do lack some features, we do lack some integrations that we have to develop and to put on the market before we start doing some fancy stuff or some futuristic stuff. So we had to take a moment, and then Stefan felt like he was disconnected from the reality of the business. So he offered me to buy his shares, and I wasn't ready to take the risk at the time since the growth was slowing down a bit. So to be full honest, we decided to do a full process to sell the business. And then SaaS Group appeared, and we were like, okay, this is a fantastic opportunity. The fit is really strong because the culture was right, the value were right, the team, the people we've met, it was really fun. And I remember having a talk in the due diligence with during a management presentation to Ulrich, and Ulrich was like, Antoine, you say you want to learn, you say you want to grow the business, you can do this inside of SaaS Group. And I was like, okay, that is magic, because uh, the different discussions I had with other buyers were like awful, this uncomfortable, and like I even once we went to Montreal, and we went on the last floor of a big building, and the guy was like on his big table, he's like, you should join or you will die. It was literally Darth Vader. So yeah, SaaS Group was refreshing. The structure that they proposed in the deal was great as well. So yeah, we just decided to jump, and in 60 days later, the business was sold. So yeah, that's the
You kind
longer version of the story.
of right. You kind of stole all my questions there, but hey, it was a great story.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, seriously, the story with the another acquirer is just amazing. It goes into my permanent collection of weird stories of acquisitions. Yeah, I mean, it's a wild story that you're telling. But before we go into acquisition and how you ended up with us
Yeah,
and how you feel about it, well, great, right? Spoiler alert.
yeah,
But I first wanted to ask about the product a little bit as well, because you were growing, you were super successful, bootstrapped,
yeah,
and uh, where did you get the customers? I mean, obviously, yes, they like 20, I guess 2016, 2017 is where when
yeah,
SaaS definitely like became the norm and people wanted
yeah.
to get in. So from there, like what was your biggest growth lever and how was it changing over the years?
Yeah, SEO has been our main active, like our main channel since the beginnings. When Stefan decided to found the business, he at the time in 2010 was already working SEO. Not necessarily in a way that would work today, but at the time it was working. So when I joined, I was asked to optimize the SEO. So I started a more serious or more theoretical work on SEO. Then we brought SEM, and then we decided to hire someone that would be dedicated to marketing. And quickly, the team was growing a lot. Like I think we had 4 or 5 people in marketing, and we were like 8 or 10 in development. So the marketing team always has been a big investment for DashThis. Um, so yes, SEO all the way, and still today, I think it's probably, yeah, SEM is taking a lot of place now, but I'd say it's at least 60% of our sales that are coming from SEO. The rest of it is coming from like SEM. Yeah, that's mainly it.
Yeah. Okay. We were just talking with JP, your head of marketing, last week, and we were discussing your marketing and what kind of experiments you were doing. But yeah, I guess SEO is still your A game. But you mentioned your talk with Ulrich, one of our co-founders, during the due
Yeah,
diligence, and yeah, you said that you wanted to learn and you wanted to work on something that you really love within the company. So I guess, from joining as a freelancer to becoming CEO, your role has been changing quite a bit. And now you're
yeah.
still running the company. So, what has been the most challenging to learn? And what is still to this day your favorite part of the business, favorite thing to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I think the hardest part for me over the years was kind of being a good leader in terms of delegating to people in a good way, because I was a bit of a control freak at some point. Like I wanted it so hard to work. I felt like I had to do it myself in some sort. Like you're a business owner, your life is kind of depending on it. Because at the time, I was the deal was made as I was earning a shitty salary and in exchange for my shares. So I was like, I'm all in. Like on if I'm not doing it right, if it doesn't work, I'm losing my time. So it has to work. So that was the mindset. So I wanted to make sure it worked. So I was working very hard. I was controlling everything, and I thought this was a good way to make sure it works. But how bad is it? Like really, I was totally wrong when I understood that. Yeah, I gotta trust the team, and you gotta make sure that the people around you are as engaged or as motivated as you. Then magics happen. And for example, when we hired GP, the guy who is still the head of marketing today, it, things changed so much. He did so he did a lot for us. The business has like double, triple because of him, mainly like in terms of SEO, in terms of inbound leads coming from SEO. So yeah, I'd say that the biggest thing for me was like understanding this. But once I got it right. About the thing that I prefer about the business today, it's hard to choose. It's hard to choose, but I think that one thing that makes me really proud is the fact that I think half of the team has a 5 year tenure and more. So they've been there for a lot of time, and like having build relations with those people is really, really a strong thing for me. Like I was in a meeting with Paul yesterday. I've been working with the guy for 9 years. Like, we understand. We don't have to talk. We understand each other's, and so that's fun. Having strong relation with my peers is something that I think is the most valuable thing for me. Yeah.
So yeah, when you got it right. That's absolutely true. And
Yeah.
has it changed? Has COVID kind of, like, in the fact that everyone went remote, help you do that? That you couldn't like be in the office anymore together, and you kind of had to up your game a little bit with communication and like intentional communication, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. When COVID arrived, we weren't at the office anymore. We at the before COVID, we had a few person who was doing like remote work, but not necessarily in a serious way, or maybe a day in a week or something like that. So then going full remote, as you say, we had to work on our communications, and we were pretty bad because you had to take the time to write it, and of course you could have everyone meeting together at the same time, but it was new. Like, no one was activating their camera, no one was speaking. The feedback was bad in terms of like, what is he thinking of what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't clear, so we were uncomfortable about like making really big calls. So I think for a certain time it got really bad in terms of communication or fluidity. And then we hired someone who was called Eric, who was a culture specialist. It was close to HR, close to culture, close to operations. He was a jack of all trades, and he was really good. And he really changed the business for good, in terms of communication, especially. Like, he brought to the company a frame where each week we meet everyone for 30 minutes to make sure that everyone knows where we're going for the week. Every quarter we have our meetings for 2 days. Everyone is there physically. We make sure that we rent a cottage and we have some fun. We work hard and we share where we're going, what we've done, what we want to make it in the next quarter. So, and then there are, in each team we have our meetings that are recurring with our SNA board, with the subjects we want to address. So it's really a more structured business, and the communication is going very well because of that. So thanks to Eric for that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we're coming to, the saucy part, the selling of the business. And you kind of told me a little bit about the reason to sell the company. How was this, searching for an acquirer? Did you start reaching out to potential acquirers? Did they start reaching out to you? And how did you find us?
So we did threefold process. The first one was, with the broker, of course. We and it didn't work because it was during COVID, when the first wave of COVID arrived, the 3 months of hard cancels we had. The second time was when the growth was really strong, like during post pandemic time, I'd say, like during everyone was in the new normal and everyone was buying online. But at the end, it was a strategic buyer, so the offers was really interesting. But when we got to the end of the due diligence, or mid in the middle of the due diligence, that's where the interest rate got really high, and getting VC or getting equity was really hard. So they said, like, we're not able to do what we told you, so let's stop the deal. So for the second time, we got hit by COVID or post-COVID impacts. And then the third time was the charm, because we still had the same broker for the third time. And they met SaaS Group in an event. I think it was an M&A event. And yeah, like I said, we had a first call with Ulrich and Pavel. I think Tim Hikes was there. And we were surprised how easy it was and how good the vibe was. It wasn't a like intimidating game, or in like you don't necessarily have to think about what you say, or is there a certain way you should say that. And they were like, what's your intention, guys? Do you want to stay or not? And we are like, oh, what are we supposed to say? And we felt like just saying the truth was the right thing to do with saas group, which wasn't the case with everyone. So we felt at ease. And yeah, I'm happy to have done the deal, because the vibe is really good since we're there. So yeah.
Oh, I'm really glad to hear that. What did you say? Did you want to stay or go?
I said I wanted to stay, and I was honestly, when I said that, I wasn't sure about if I would still want that after the transaction. But the reality is, I wanted to stay. I wanted to work with the business. I wanted to, like, that's just, I don't feel like I have done everything with the business that I wanted. Like, I have always said that I want to go to $10 million, and we're not there yet. So to me, it's something that I want to get to. And of course, like I said, I have built relations with the team, with my peers. It's been years and years and years, so I want to keep that. But of course, you hear the tragic story or the worst stories about like people doing the transaction and then they feel it's not their company. They are controlled. They just vest in peace. They wait for the earnouts to come, and then they leave. That's kind of a story you hear often. So I was scared about that. But hey, here I am, like 8 or 9 months later, and I feel like I made a good move. So yeah.
I mean, we gave you a warm welcome, right? It was uh, right after I think we just like signed the papers, and like 3 days later, we flew you to to Barcelona for our annual retreat.
Yeah.
So we got to all to meet all of you. It was amazing. I mean, I also felt like it was a great match in terms of culture. It felt like you guys just belong there. Like you've always been with us. It was really cool, and that's when I really understood like what it is we're talking about in terms of cultural alignment. But that's great. Like I said, that's great to hear. Uh, was there anything like surprising or challenging, or like during the due diligence you were like, oh man, like I wish it wasn't happening. Like that part I hate. It was easier before.
Um, I don't recall any moments in the due diligence where I was like, "Oh, I wish this didn't happen, or we didn't say that, or we didn't hear that." So no, I'd say that in fact it was a bit scary how good it was, Like, because we were used to being uncomfortable in the other process we've made. So this time I was like, "It's going too well," and they were asking questions, but I was scared that the M&A team would come back to us and say at the end of the process, okay, now let's negotiate again the deal. And I was used to that. So I was scared of this, but it didn't happen. And we had the discussion with Pavel, I think. It was like, what's your intention about the deal going forward? And he was like, making it. It was so simple. He was like, let's just do it. Like, as we said, why would it be complicated? And it was like, oh my God, this is so refreshing. So yeah, no, in fact, maybe a funny story, a thing that I wish wouldn't have happened, would be having to make us, because I was in Japan during the due diligence with my kids and my wife. So we were there, and there was a time zone. I had to make some calls during the night when the kids were asleep, and I was in a hotel with a lot of music and the party going, and I was trying to make a due diligence call with potential buyers. So I had to go to find a Starbucks, and then I remember being kicked out of the Starbucks because it was closing, and I was discussing and having fun with Gosha from HR team and Pavel from M&A. So I was having too much fun, and then people in Japan, they are so gentle and so not introvert, but so they're not like North American people who are loud and taking some place. So they gently pushed me out of the Starbucks, waiting for me to end my call. That was pretty funny. But aside of that, no, everything went really great.
Right. So they they were calling you about making you stay, and you're like they're having a party in Japan. Like, Okay.
Yeah.
He's going
Yeah.
to stay with us. That's fun. Okay, that's great. So post-merger integration, right? Like you said, lots of horror stories of, companies being acquired and, during the post-merger acquisition, realizing that this is not a fairy tale they were kind of hoping for, and there's a lot of changes and they're not really in control. So how did that process go for you? And I mean, um, we obviously want to be as, not interrogative with the business, but changes still happen. So what were your changes and how did you go through them?
So after a transaction, the biggest change was reducing the size of the team. And that's because of the story I told you earlier in this discussion. I mean, we, during the big growth we had post COVID, we hired a lot of people. And then the growth slowed down. And we were at a point like Stefan and I was kind of hoping for the best. We were like, okay, let's hope for the economic context to get better, the interest rates to reduce and stuff like that. And and then we did the deal, and saas group was like, what's your plan with these people, guys? You hired them. They didn't have the impact you wished yet because the company isn't growing as you thought it would after those hires. What are you going to do about that? And I was like, I think we hope for the best, or we have to make a business decision and let them go. And it wasn't necessarily a decision or a clear recommendation coming from saas group, but just them asking questions and making sure we have a healthy business kind of made me realize that it's something I even should have done earlier. But we were focusing too much on the team trust and the team relations, and like we just didn't want to feel like a bad guy. But at the end, it's still a business. You have to make sure that the business is robust to go over time. So I explained to the team that if we want to preserve our team, if we want to make sure the business is still there in a few years in a healthy position, we have to make those kind of decisions when it goes wrong. So it was really a hard part for me, like doing the sale and saying that, oh, we have an exit, we're happy founders, we're happy shareholders, and at the same time letting go some people. It was really, to be honest, a weird position, but I was really transparent and really honest with the team, and then I think they understood. It's still something that I find hard, but it's something you have to do in the business. Yeah, make sure your business is strong. That's the only thing you can do. So yeah, that was the biggest change. But aside from that, saas group told us that we would be independent, and it's been true. So we really feel like we are an independent business. Of course, we are helped by a central team at different points, especially marketing. I'd say marketing central team has really helped us. For example, we cut the marketing budget by 40% thanks to their advice, and we still have exactly the same result in terms of sales, not in terms of leads, because we had some bad leads or non-active leads that we were paying for. So that would be another big change. So yeah, the business today has the same culture, has the same vibe, just a little bit smaller, more effective, more efficient, and with a lot of happy people. So the business is going great, and it's even stronger thanks to saas group.
Perfect. Well, thank you for an honest answer. And I mean, I was talking to another founder on this podcast about firing, and unfortunately, they were in the same position at some point when they hired a lot of people during the COVID, because they also had an influx of funds from their VCs. Then they had to fire almost half of their team, and he said, yeah, I mean, it's whether we're firing half of the team now or we're firing everybody next year, because we're just, that's just a position where business is. So it's a business decision. You're right.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
feel like the example you're giving is kind of easier because if it's going really bad, then letting go people is clear for everyone. But when the business is just not profitable. Like it's a different scenario. Like people are like, oh, we thought it was going great, and we're like, eesh, we could survive, but is this really a way we want to go? Like we want to just survive as a business and make sure that we have a business? No, no. The purpose of a business is whether really growing as hell, like we did in some portion of the story, but no, a business to me, we have always said that we want to be bootstrapped, we want to be profitable, and we want to give back to the team. And you can't give back to the team if you don't have the profits. And after the transaction, after the layoffs, we sat down with the team and we tried to explain to them how profits are important and what's the impact of having or not having profits. And we the team is more mature than we were because of those decisions, and we're still talking about that. And we weren't before the transaction. Like we weren't sharing profits number or goal profits number, and we now are. And some of people are just not interested in that, but they gain from other stuff. Like they gain from the nice culture we have, the nice vibe we have. So everyone, like it doesn't, not everyone has to be on board with the financials. I get it, but we want to make sure that we are transparent and it's clear for everyone where we're here and where we're going.
Awesome. That makes sense. All right. So the last couple of questions are the usuals. The first is what has been so far the biggest win and the biggest failure, and could be related to the company. So what company did or didn't do, or just your personal feeling of what you do great or didn't.
I think that the best thing the company is doing, aside from, of course, SEO and the great product we've built and the great support we're having, because honestly, I should mention that, like, our customer success team was reporting to me yesterday and saying, like, our CSAT is 97% this quarter, and that's normal. Like, we just are killing it. Like, our support team is awesome. But I think that the most important things we're doing right is, as I said, the tenure of the people. Like the people are staying for a long time at DashThis, and we really have built a strong relations between the peers. I think that would be the thing that I'm most proud about. And I say me as I was doing it, but we're doing it together. It's not like I'm an enabler, that's for sure, but it's the team responsibility to achieve that. Um, on a personal level, I'd say that I'm 37, and like I said, I was a control freak earlier, and I understood that you must not be a control freak. You must be an enabler. I think some people understand this later than me as an entrepreneur. So I'm really happy to have understand that in my early years of my career. Yeah, that would be the most important things I'm proud of.
What about failures or challenges?
I think on a personal level, I really underestimate myself. Like honestly, for so long, I was scared of different things, like scared of speaking out loud my mind, scared of taking some risk. And when I decided to, with Stefan, buy back the former CEO and take his place and buy some stocks again and take a loan at the bank, that's really when I think I understood how important it is to trust yourself and trust your gut and just go for it. So yeah, that's the biggest win in my career yet.
Okay. All right. So the last question will be about a hack, right? And it can be anything, can be something related to building a strong team, having people stay with you, or, growth, finding a good acquirer, anything.
Yeah, I think the biggest hack for me was Tech Canada. Tech Canada is kind of a meeting I have with other entrepreneurs in each month or each 2 months in this case, and with it comes a coach. And Louis Samuel is my coach from Tech Canada, and he really helped me to evolve really quicker. He is always pushing me hard and saying to me the truth, and this has been really important for me to evolve and to understand business stuff and also personal stuff. I mean, with him, I've been trying to be a better leader and trying to be a better leader brought to me like being a better person. So Tech Canada would be my biggest hack and one of the things that had the biggest impact on my career since the beginning. Yeah, I would recommend, and there are a lot of different groups like this over the world. IO is one of them that is really known. So yeah, I would recommend anyone go through that path. Yeah,
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about the power of community and like how finding, your group or just people to talk to who have been through the
yeah,
journey or maybe a little bit like a couple of steps ahead of you is important for founders' life and mental health. So it's great to hear that. I'm glad it works for you. But thank you so much for this conversation. I mean, like I said, really happy to have you guys on board. It seriously clicked, I think, for all of us, and I'm really glad to hear your awesome review of how the acquisition went. So, thank you so much for your time, and I'll be happy, of course, to do it again.
yeah. Of course. Thanks for having me, and yeah, let's speak again soon.
Awesome. All right, thank you, and take care.